Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Gemini for January 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog, check out my offerings, including my Astrology Apprenticeship Program, which will be enrolling in January, and my other courses. So what's going on in this new month, in this new year, specifically for Gemini, for all of us? We're walking into a new year, quote, new year, right in the middle of a retrograde. And this happens sometimes where the energy of newness that is put on us by our society's belief in the fact that this is a new year is actually thwarted by the planetary cycles. And we're going more backwards than we are forward at this point. So it doesn't mean that you can't make your New Year's resolutions. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to make forward movements. If you're feeling it and you want to do it, then I absolutely think that you should do that. At the same time, there are going to be many of you that are getting a sleepy start to your new year, and I want you to be easy on yourself and understand that you are actually in sync with the natural rhythm right now. So if it takes you a little bit to start really pushing forward, that's fine. You know, you have to follow your flow and see what's working for you. But if you're trying to push forward and it's not working, then just relax, and wait until the energy clears a little bit. So I'll go way more into this edge of the abyss that we're standing before with all these retrogrades and some good dates in January if you have to push a launch through and all that soon. But first I want to talk about some things specific for Gemini. I am calling the theme of the month for Gemini, Embracing the Unknown. And this is from a strong focus in the 8th house. The early degree placements, which are the birthdays, the first 10 days of the birthday sign, where the sun was in Gemini, the first 10 degrees, if you're watching for your rising sign, so like 0 to 9 degrees for Gemini, you all will feel this energy sooner, like right from January. But the rest of you, it will take some weeks to start staggering this in to get stronger for you. But it is still a theme, and it is still for all of you, okay? So the 8th house has to do with the deep, dark, mysterious, terrifying unknown. It's the esoteric realms. It's the things you can't see. It's investigation. It's research. It's spiritual topics that are so not tangible, that you can't even talk about them sometimes because they're just... You can't even articulate the depth of what goes on. All of this is Scorpio energy. All of this is the 8th house. And this is what's being highlighted for you right now. There are a lot of manifestations of this. Astrology is here. Any deep spiritual studies are here. Research, even like getting a good mystery. I know I have Scorpio energy in my chart. And when I was little, I was obsessed with mysteries. I had every Nancy Drew mystery, and now I'm an astrologer, and so I do deep probing into the mind that way. So it manifests in different ways at different times, but mystery on all levels is the energy of what we're looking at here. The 8th house also has to do with your emotional, mental imprinting, and affirmations are an amazing way to imprint your subconscious mind with ideas that will help you to change behavior. Basically, we are having our minds be imprinted with things against our will all the time. Billboards, things on TV and newspapers, headlines, all of that is imprinting our subconscious mind with things constantly. So to counteract some of that and to put power behind what we're trying to do for ourselves and others, we can use affirmations. I have made this month affirmations for everyone, all of the signs, and even more than one per sign if there's a different focus for middle and late degree placements, which I'll list. So this one for Gemini, for the Embracing the Unknown, is I embrace the unknown with the spirit of a great adventurer. And you can see this affirmation and more on my Instagram account in a pretty version. You can look for Annie Botticelli Instagram, and you can have a visual for this affirmation because sometimes that helps to imprint as well. And that's what it's about. It's about loving the mystery, loving the unknown, instead of trying to plan everything, instead of trying to know everything. Gemini energy is very mental. It is always 5,000 steps ahead of everyone else. You know, it's just thinking, mental chatter, crazy, going crazy. So that can lend itself to planning and uncertainty and trying to figure out what's going on and just kind of vacillating around. So this is a really good affirmation to just remind yourself that you can have an attitude, a perspective of an adventurer when going deep into whatever it happens to be. So the middle to late degree placement, so that's the rest of the birthdays after the first 10 days and all the rest of the degrees after the 0 to 9, you will have this as part of your reading and your energy. But you additionally still have strong energy in the 7th house. And the 7th house has to do with relationships as well. One-on-one relationships. You know, the 7th and 8th house are both relationship houses. But the 7th house has to do with the one-on-one relationship. So for you, I draw to myself meaningful, deep, and fulfilling relationships. Now, it's very simple, but it's very powerful because that's really what everybody wants. You know, we all want to have meaning and depth in our relationships. And sometimes that's going to take bending a little bit to get to where you want to be. You know, it doesn't mean sacrificing something that's at the core of what you believe necessarily. But there's a lot of gray area where we can meet with people who seem to be against us. You know, we have to look for the ways we're on the same team. What is similar about what we're trying to do? And then do those things. So that's another strong focus this month for Gemini placements. So there's this short-term energy, as we've just talked about, but there's also planets that are bringing more long-term energy, where there's like a deep focus for a long time. Neptune and the South Node are circulating in Gemini's, or at least early Gemini, 10th house. For the rest of you, Neptune and the South Node are in the 9th house, and I'll talk about the implications of that in a minute. But what Neptune does is it spiritualizes everything. And sometimes in order to spiritualize things, it dissolves things away. So it's like, if you imagine how I envision this to see the energy of it is, Neptune is the ruler of the sea. If you're on the shore and you're watching the tide come in and go out, it's sort of eroding out the sand, you know, it's carving the beach line. And that's what Neptune does, is it dissolves out energy. Sometimes, unfortunately, it dissolves out things you think you want, but Spirit always has an idea of what you should have and what is better for you. So if something in your work or something having to do with authority figures or father figures, or, you know, something where how you're walking in the world is getting dissolved, eroded out, then just let that be your hint that Spirit is saying, we want to spiritualize this for you, and you're not walking in the way that you could be and that we want, you know, that Spirit wants you to be. And so we're going to dissolve these things away. Now, the South Node has to do with karma and the challenges, the blocks that are in between you and where you want to be and where you're supposed to be for your highest expression. You can see points of highest expression in your chart. Sensitive people can also feel them, you know. But we also all know that not everyone leaves this bodily form getting to their highest expression in this lifetime. You know, that definitely doesn't happen. And in some ways, it's more common that people don't. So this South Node is this constant block that's interfering with getting you to your highest expression. But it also, in the block lies the answers. Within the problem lies the solution. So it's like karma could be coming up as far as how you're walking in the world. But it's coming up to show you what you're working with so you can clear it out so you can get more on track, you know? It feels so good to be on track. And this is the type of long-term transit that is dissolving things away that are pulling you off track. So for your middle to late degree placements, this has to do more with this Neptune dissolving, this South Node karmic stuff has to do more with your belief systems. You know, what are the fundamental things that you believe that need to be spiritualized, that need to be eroded away, that and it could be, for some people, be trust and faith in the universe has been eroding away since Neptune has been in that placement, you know, and it doesn't feel good to have the things you thought you knew dissolved right out from under you. So, but this is happening for purpose. This is happening for you to keep searching, and for you to keep looking, and for you to keep asking questions, and for you to keep seeing what's being revealed to you as a block, so that you can draw to yourself the fuel and the perceptions that will get you to where you need to be. The ninth house is the house of Sagittarius, and it's very much about like like looking down at things from a cloud or from the top of a mountain. You know, it's looking at things from a different perspective than where the problems were caused. So if there were if there was a beaver dam blocking up a flow of water, you could see from the mountain that this little town is not getting their water supply because of a beaver dam. Not because the gods damned them, right? Because the beaver made a dam. So if you change the perspective of like the villager thinking, having this limited view on things, and rise it above into the mountain, you can see, oh, we just have to break down the dam, and that's what you're working with. You're trying to get up above something that has been a continual issue with how you're seeing things. So these are the things that are specific for Gemini. And now I want to talk about the good dates in January. If you have to push some launches, do some things, in the middle of this whole retrograde cycle that runs into May. We're going to talk about that and challenging dates in January, plus give you some more details about this retrograde cycle and when, when the good launch periods are for the whole year. So I'm calling the month of January 2017. The theme for all signs is the edge of the abyss. We start out the month in the middle of the first of a series of personal planets being retrograde. Personal planets are the ones that are closest to us. So really the ones that are relevant here are Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Whenever one of those planets appears as if it's going backwards in the sky, of course they never really do go backwards in their orbit, but from our position on the Earth, if you were watching it in the sky, it would look like it was going backwards. That period of time, called a retrograde, lends itself into going backwards and going in deep. Some people have made the mistake of thinking you can't do anything during a retrograde cycle. That is totally not true, and I'm going to go into more details about that. But basically this energy of being on the edge of the abyss in this Mercury retrograde that is welcoming us as we start this new year. Then on January 8th, Mercury goes direct. And then at the end of January, the shadow period for Venus retrograde starts. Venus rules love and beauty and money. So the energies ruling, or the energies regarding those topics all tend to go backwards. But there's also a shadow period before the actual retrograde. So even though Venus is not retrograde until March 4th, and that's through April 15th, at the end of January, it's already warming up. It's kind of like when you're on your way somewhere, maybe you're at a place not in the forest, okay, and you're driving and there are no trees around. Then all of a sudden you start seeing a couple of trees here and there. And you know that when you go deeper, you're going to be covered with trees on both sides of the road, but it's kind of like the trees are starting to show up and you're getting that vibe of going into the woods. And that's what the retrograde is like, and that's what the shadow periods are like. So just as Mercury starts to be clear of its shadow period, Venus's shadow period starts. And then we get into full-on Venus retrograde. And then just as Venus goes direct in the middle of April, we start the shadow period for the next Mercury retrograde. And then it's not till May 19th that Venus is completely clear of its retrograde cycle. And it's not till May 21st that Mercury is completely clear of its retrograde cycle. So you can see why I call this time in January the edge of the abyss, and why, if you've listened to my horoscopes for a while, you can see why I was pushing you to push as many things forward into the world in the launch period, November through like December 3rd or so, because these energies want to go back and they want to go in. An analogy that I've been thinking of that really reminds me of the energy of what we're standing before. As I was stating earlier, it's a huge mistake to think you can't do anything in a retrograde. There is so much to do, there's plenty to do, and there are some things that it's actually good to do those things. You can get some specifics on Mercury retrograde by watching my video for that transit. You can also watch my video for Venus retrograde to get more details about specifics for that transit. I'll give some general retrograde energies here. But it's like if you want to clean out your kitchen, right? maybe it's not too messy when you get in there. But when you start taking stuff out of the cabinets and spreading all the clean surfaces with the stuff from the cabinets in order to get everything out, throw stuff away, wipe the surfaces inside the cabinets, you create a righteous mess, right? In order to meet the objective, which is to have a truly clean kitchen that feels really good, getting rid of stagnant energy, clearing out things you don't need, making room for new. So although we're not starting this new year in an energy with a lot of newness coming in, we definitely have a major opportunity to go in deep and clear those things out. So I know for myself, I'm going to be very busy during these retrograde cycles, and I'm going to take everything in my house and all of my things out and clear them out. And by the time the energies go direct, I won't have complained because I didn't have any shortage of things to do during this retrograde cycle. It's just the new things, the launches. If there's something you've been doing all along, like for instance, I teach Creating Successful Online Business course, and I teach an astrology apprenticeship program. I've been teaching these for a while. So you'll see my launches come out in the midst of these retrograde energies, but they're not new and they're short-term programs. That's another thing to know about these new, the warnings to not do new things during the retrogrades. That's really a warning to not do long-term things. If you want to try something on or do a trial period or do something for a short amount of time that's not intended to have longevity, it's perfect. It's fine. You can play, you can experiment, etc. And it's a wonderful time to do that. You can have different experiences, and it's like a no commitment type of thing. If you go in thinking I'm going to be doing this for a certain number of years and it's going to be exactly how we're talking about right now, it's just not going to be that way. It's going to change and evolve, and that's the nature of the retrogrades. So, just keep that keynote of being on the edge of the abyss, keeping the understandings that things might have to get a little messier in your life before they can become clearer, but that this is really what's needed. It's really what's needed to get you closer to the things that you want to do, the experiences that you want to have. So, another good point about this retrograde cycle is to try to get your taxes done early. If you can submit them, like at the end of, I know you have to wait for some tax documents at the end of January, but as soon into February as possible, have all your ducks in a row, it's going to be much easier for you because April 15th is the tax day that everything is due, but that's the end of Venus retrograde, and money things are going to be, affected by this. So you might want to try to get that done. Something else really great about retrogrades is that when you are taking everything out to look at it again, you often find a lot of gems, things that you totally forgot about. If you're a writer, maybe if you're clearing out old files, you find some things that could be usable for a current project, or that you feel inspired to go back and start getting into again. This happens all the time. Either something that you find or something comes back to you through someone else mentioning it, or something floats in your field in some way from the past, then you get back on it and you bring it to a different level. It's like something coming back from the past that you work on. But you often will find a lot of gems, so contacting people from the past, going through things from the past, clearing out stuff is one of the best things you can do during retrogrades. And then you'll be in a much better position for launching when the stars are great again, which is like May 21st is really, there might be a couple of dates before then that could work, but that's the day that the Venus retrograde, the Mercury retrograde is clear. So you've got from May 21st through July 25th, free of personal planet retrogrades. And as we get closer to those days, I'll give you, challenging dates and good dates around in that time period. But I just want to give you an overview for the year so you have a snapshot of what we're looking at. Then we have another retrograde cycle between July 26th and October 6th, and then we're clear again from October 7th through November 5th. So essentially you've got 2 good launching periods this year. And then you might want to take advantage of that and line things up that way. So, let's see, I want to give you the good dates. I say good dates. These are dates that have sweet aspects that are occurring, And note that some of the dates I give you that could carry sweetness are also some of the same dates that could bring challenges or drama. Because on some days we have certain really good aspects and certain challenging aspects at the same time. I'm going to give you the dates, but note that sometimes we feel the energy of a transit before or after the day it actually occurs. So sometimes the exact date isn't as relevant as the time period. I'm not going to list all of why these dates carry sweetness or challenges. You can see more details about that when you sign up for my free email newsletter, which is on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. I do a write-up for the month before that gives the theme of the month, themes, keynotes, sweet days, challenging days, as well as the actual aspects that make those sweet or challenging, with a little bit of explanation as to why and what's happening there. So you can get that for free on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Okay, so you might find sweetness on or around January 3rd, January 6th and 7th, January 20th, 23rd, 28th, and 29th. Put a big star around January 29th January 28th, because this is the Chinese New Year and the new moon in Aquarius. So if you have to push something through that you could not push through in my suggested time frame that ran until December 3rd, then this might be a date that could work for you, because it's dancing right between some challenging aspects, but it has a lot of good energy for forward momentum. So if you have to push something through or do a follow-up for something that you had already started, that could be a date that you could slip in. Really, the end of January and the beginning of February, if you have anything that you're going to have to push through that you didn't do in the window through the beginning of December, that's going to be your best time, because you're only going to get deeper into the Venus retrograde as you get deeper into February. So it's going to be pretty retrograde-y until May after that. But it will still have effects because it's right in the middle of all this, but it's your best bet if you have to do something. So the dates to have extra care or where there might be challenges or drama are January 5th through 12th, the 19th, the 27th through the 29th, and the 31st. Okay, so definitely check out my blogs, my new moon, making powerful wishes for each of the new moons on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can also check out my courses, my coach certification course, my Creating Successful Online Business course, and my Astrology Apprenticeship Program. My Astrology Apprenticeship Program and my Creating Successful Online Business courses will be re-enrolling. They have been closed for enrollment. They will be re-enrolling in January. So you can check that out, and maybe you'll want to join me to do these professional certification courses. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will see you next month. Bye.